Hello, everybody. How are you? I hope everyone is well, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Anthony Berklich, and thanks for joining me. I came all the way to my living room for this. The traffic was horrendous getting here. Just kidding. I know we've all been pretty used to Zoom and, communicating these days this way due to this crazy pandemic happening. I really am grateful to be invited here for Africa Travel Week, just to speak to you in a very casual and comfortable way. Masterclass is such a threatening word because it makes you feel like, that you are a master at something, and I do consider myself one, but I'm a very casual person. So forgive me for being so. Grateful to be here. Africa is really my favorite continent on this planet. I'm from New York City originally, and I'm based here. But I absolutely love the African continent, and it has really personally devastated me to see everything happening around the world, but specifically there because I know how important tourism is to many, many countries on the continent, and to livelihoods, and to families, and just everybody. So I'm excited to kind of turn these lemons that we've been dealt and try my best to help turn it into lemonade, because that's really what we have to do at the end of the day. Like I said, my name is Anthony Berklich, and I'm a travel expert and consultant. I consult for various travel brands around the world, luxury hotels, and tour operators, to try and help them market correctly, and market their products in a unique way that allow them to speak to the audience that they're trying to capture and help improve their guest experience, and really kind of the entire experience of the traveler within their travel brand. I want to remind everybody just now that there's a chat function on the bottom of your Zoom screens, and you can use it at any time. I'm going to try to open this up for discussion towards the end of the class, just so you can ask me whatever you want, if there are any questions. And that's pretty much it. So again, I'm a travel consultant. I'm also a writer for various publications, in-flight magazines, Harper's Bazaar, and for my own platform, where we have a small team here in New York that churns out content as it relates to luxury travel. And that website is called Inspired Citizen. It's inspiredcitizen.com. We do our best to kind of show people the best of the world and what it has to offer in terms of luxury. And as I've spoken before many times at World Travel Market and ILTM events, luxury has nothing to do necessarily with the amount of money that something costs, but really the experience that is offered. And that leads me into the point, one of my first points I want to make about the quality of the experience that people are being offered now, post-pandemic. A few things I think that might be able to help you, as I've seen, throughout my recent travels, being on lockdown here in the United States for the past 4 months, but just starting in the past month to get out there and travel. I've gone to Portugal, I've been to Rwanda, to Kenya, to Ecuador, trying to go wherever they will allow Americans in, which are not many places these days. Overnight, our passports were kind of rendered useless. And you know what? It's a good lesson, I think, for Americans to have that feeling, and not take the freedom to travel so lightly and for granted. Again, I wanted to start just by saying that I think one of the most important things that luxury travelers are looking for post-pandemic in their travel is safety, and a travel advocate for them. One of the biggest fears that people have these days is okay, I'm ready to travel and I feel safe enough with the messaging that the airlines are giving me about the electrostatic cleaning and the cleansing on board that's happening between flights. But what happens if I plan a trip and I get there and all of a sudden the border shut down, or the border shut down before I get there and I lose all my money? I think if you're trying to offer something to a luxury traveler, and whether you're a property or you're a tour operator or what have you, I think the most important message that you can convey right now to them in your marketing is that they have an advocate on the ground, that you are well aware of the things that are happening in government, that there is kind of a firm grasp on what's happening in terms of the borders or in terms of the regulations and rules for people entering, and that you're going to help them seamlessly get through that. They want to know that, God forbid, if they plan a trip, that they can cancel at any time, that they will get their money back, that they will be able to have somebody possibly when they arrive at the airport to help them through the COVID situation when presenting negative tests, or have them help them with visa information or visa applications, and when you land, just to make things a little bit more seamless. So I think if you convey the fact that you are their advocate and that you are willing to kind of do the legwork for them and help them through that, that's going to help them, rest assured and be willing to book with you. I believe that Africa as a continent, and many of the countries that I've been to, and I've been to many on the continent, are in such a prime position right now to take control of the luxury travel market, because just by nature, the opportunity to provide a social distance experience is huge. Even if you're in a city like Cape Town or Johannesburg or Nairobi, that's okay. But Africa in general, you can provide that, with your game viewing experiences, your wildlife experiences, and your nature experiences. And I think this is an opportunity, again, like I said, to turn lemons into lemonade, and to market to that. I never think it's appropriate to cater to fear or to, kind of do it in a dodgy way. But I think that just through subtle marketing language and information, they can be taught that, or told that once they get there, there's not going to be that many other people around. Things are for them and individualized. By nature, a game drive might be something that is, just for them or just for a couple of other people. So the risk of exposure to anything would be quite minimal. I think another thing that I've recently seen, because again, I was just in Kenya, is just the amount of attention that's paid to the idea of cleanliness and sanitization. I was so impressed with a lodge I stayed at recently called Sirikoi. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's in the Leeward Downs Conservancy in northern Kenya. But a lot of times you can think, all right, the government has said we need to check temperatures when people come in, or we need masks, or we need gloves, and it's kind of confusing. But I think if you show people that you take this seriously and you're still doing it in a luxurious way, then it kind of turns it into a non thing, where they feel good about it and it's still a luxury experience. When I arrived at Sirikoi, there were hand washing stations there. There were beautiful bottles, never ugly bottles, but beautiful bottles of hand sanitizer, hand sanitizer for people to use that were well decorated. Every guest on arrival had a beautiful little kind of satchel that was made with Kenyan fabric, and inside was a cloth mask, gloves, and disinfecting wipes. That was changed daily by the housekeeping staff for the travelers. So it was kind of taking this, these new normal things that we sort of are aware of and flip it on its head and make it kind of a luxury experience where it doesn't seem as threatening or it doesn't seem as like an imposition. Even before you would go to lunch or dinner, there was a hand washing station or someone was there to make sure that you were able to disinfect your hands. All the staff wore masks, wore gloves. All the tables had been moved far apart. Even the furniture in the social areas had been moved far apart. And all of these things are just simple messages to travelers that you get it and that you take this seriously and that their health is of highest priority. I think myself living in the United States, a lot of things that have unfolded over the past few months have really taught me that your government might not always be there for you in the way that you want. We can't all rely on our governments. I, in the United States, cannot, unfortunately, to tell us how to handle this appropriately. And a lot of it is trial and error. So I think this is an opportunity for any brand on the African continent, any hotel, any tour operator, to really do the legwork themselves and to kind of make it a situation where you're just allowing the guests to know that they have the opportunity to be in a safe environment. I think one of the most important things I want to impart that I've seen, and when I've been talking to luxury travelers and to other travel brands around the world, is that now more than ever, before COVID, the luxury traveler was interested, of course, in a tailor-made experience. However, now that's an even more important thing. So taking what you have already offered and tailoring it even more, and even in the most outlandish way. None of us has been through this before. So trial and error, there are no mistakes. I think it's important to kind of take experiences, whether it's a tour package or something as small as a private dinner, and just kind of making everything look individualized and tailored, and make everything seem as if it was done just for them. I think if a luxury traveler feels like that, then they feel that they're in good hands. At Siracoy, actually, they offered a helicopter tour, private, where they would take you in the morning up to the glacial lakes in Mount Kenya, and they would set up breakfast, and it was just for you. So that's a fabulous, great experience. It's also one where you're alone and no one else is around you. So it's a way of getting that social distance idea in, and without kind of beating it over people's heads. Because I think people are tired also of hearing those terms, social distancing, and in the United States, I'm sure they use it in parts of Africa as well, but new normal, everyone refers to this new normal. People are kind of tired of those terms. So it's sort of cleverly hiding that in your messaging, but just letting people know that exists with whatever product you're trying to push. I was, again, when I was in Kenya, I stopped by Rwanda. I think a country that is doing things very, very well too. They're taking it super, super seriously. I was tested for COVID 3 times while I was on the ground in Rwanda. I was only there for 5 days, but I had to have a test, go through a 24-hour quarantine period before I was allowed outside of my room, and then have multiple tests after that. And even, going to see the gorillas, which is something that I did up at Volcanoes National Park, and you are in the middle of, pretty much nowhere. There's not a lot of people around. It was very clear to me that all the luxury properties like the Bisate Lodge from Wilderness Safaris, or, Virunga Lodge by Volcano Safaris, or Singita up there, they all took this pandemic very seriously, and they had altered everything in a really, really, really amazing way, so that guests, even though there were few of them when I was there, not that many, that they felt safe. I'm sure a lot of you have already thought of this, and I'm sure people understand. But catering to your domestic travelers, to never underestimate that. I know South Africa, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is open for domestic travel or interprovincial travel now, where people can come. People were doing that in Kenya and Rwanda, encouraging people to kind of see what's at home and see what's already there. The rates, of course, were a little bit less. They were offering special rates for locals so that they could experience the wildlife, that they could experience the hotel for the weekend or what have you. But I think that should not be underestimated at all. I'm consulting currently for a property in Jamaica, an island in the Caribbean. And one of the biggest things that we're doing right now is allowing travelers to chat with us on WhatsApp. And I know some people already do that, but really making that a key part of the messaging so that they feel like they can reach somebody immediately, because as we know, things are changing rapidly. They change overnight, sometimes without warning. And I know on the continent of Africa that happens, can happen frequently. So WhatsApp has been a really great tool, because if someone says, oh, hey, where do I get a COVID test, or how do I best do that, or how do I show that, upon arrival, or what happens if I have to cancel, or, whatever. There's a way to reach somebody directly. And in our case, and that particular property that I'm working with, I mean, some of those messages are going to reservation agents and planners, but off hours, it's going right to the general manager. Everyone, it's a team effort. Everyone is stepping up to make sure that that there is something, a way for people to reach you, so that they feel comfortable. I think for myself as a luxury traveler, one of the hardest things to navigate, of course, is air travel, because routes are starting and stopping. In fact, on my way to Rwanda, I had planned it a couple months prior. The dates changed like crazy. They would email me pretty much every day with, oh, your flight is now here, your flight's now there. Oh, that flight's now canceled. In fact, they decided not to fly to, well, it wasn't just that they decided, but they weren't able to come to New York anymore. I was supposed to go from New York to Brussels to Kigali. The New York-Brussels portion just permanently got canceled, so I had no way to get to my flight, but luckily was able to be reaccommodated on Lufthansa through Frankfurt. That's one of the most, scary things. And although a lot of us here are not directly in the airline industry, we rely on big airlines to bring visitors from overseas and from other places, and then we rely on the small domestic carriers, like in Kenya, Safari Link or Coastal Airways or what have you, that can bring people into more rural areas. And I think working hand in hand with the airlines, and always premeditating any kind of backup. Once you know you have a guest coming from XYZ city or country, saying, okay, if this doesn't work, then we can get them here this way. And again, that just goes back to the message of, of letting them know that they have an advocate on their side. I believe social media, of course, everyone uses it, but I think it's now more important than ever, just in communication and delivering all of this messaging. Your marketing copy and your marketing prowess that you have had to sell your brand before should be stronger than ever, but just altered. And again, slowly introducing these ideas of, not slowly, but rapidly introducing these ideas of safety and the fact that you understand what's happening with the pandemic, but not in a way where you're beating it over people's heads. I think that is very important. Everything that is being posted with some clients that I'm working with now, it's, book now, cancel anytime, book now, cancel anytime. So there has to be a way to do that. I think especially with hotels and tour companies, looking at your bottom line, obviously everyone needs to at least break even or, ideally make money. But now is the time to consider what sorts of promotions and what sorts of incentives can be offered to travelers who are coming in, just to put yourself ahead of the pack, because I've seen a lot of really, really good deals happening with free nights added, or free spa treatments added, or meals, or something special. Just little incentives that can help travelers decide and choose and pick between places to go and things to see. That is a really, really important thing. And I think now is the best time to brainstorm and figure out exactly what you can do to offer things like that to people who are going to come and see you. I myself am scheduled to come to South Africa at the end of October. I have a strong feeling I'm not going to be let in, so I might have to push that trip to the beginning of 2021. It makes me really sad because I miss it and I want to come very badly. But just with different people that I'm working with, the amount of emails I'm receiving about different promotions and things on a daily basis make me really happy, because it's showing me that people understand that that's what the luxury traveler is looking for. They're looking for a deal right now, of course. And with the media telling you, oh, you can fly here and there for very cheap now. Yes, that's true. Depending on where you're going, sometimes it's not true. But if they're looking for a cheap ticket, then they're probably looking for an experience that might be offered. Feeling like they're getting a deal somewhere, even if the deal isn't that great, but feeling like they are. And I think it's important to show that and to offer something that allows them to feel that way. I'm going to go down here to the Q&A just for a second. Just feel free. I just want to stop for a second so I can answer some questions. This comes from Robin. She says, how do you feel like the Lux traveler will be more inclined to take full cover insurance prior to travel? I do. I think that travel insurance is a big deal right now, and I believe that it's important for a travel brand on the continent to do the legwork to find the best insurance deals for the guest, because people are timid and people want to know, and as long as they know that their money is safe and that they're safe, they'll book. So I think that the Lux traveler will absolutely be interested in travel insurance. So if you bring that up to them right off the bat and you say, hey, these are two great companies that offer XYZ policies that will cover you just in case, I think that's going to be really great, and it's going to help them. Glenn says, let's not forget our region, which is Southern Africa. Travel is barred, yes, due to closed borders, South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and may be the case for some time. So much of what you say about Rwanda and Kenya is not a new normal for our region. Yes, I understand. Southern Africa is in a different situation. I know that's why I mentioned, the fact that people there, I think, are focusing on domestic tourism a lot. But I'm hopeful that, like a Rwanda and Kenya are the examples that I'm trying to bring up there, that they can help when things begin to reopen. I know the tourism industry is really pushing in Southern Africa to reopen for international travel as soon as possible. And I know the government is being a little bit stringent about that. And it's starting to look like it's not going to happen until early 2021. But I believe even then it's going to be the same scenario in terms of what the luxury traveler is looking for and what they want, even at that time, because, the big media news at the time is going to be, hey, Southern Africa is open and they're just sort of getting their feet wet with, letting international tourism in. So, do they have it right? Are they making the proper strides, or are there going to be flare-ups of the pandemic because people are coming now? So I think all of these things ring true for those brands that exist and reside in those countries, so that people feel safe even when you do finally reopen, for sure. Okay, let's see here. I've got some chats happening here. Let's see, I have someone from Angela. Hello, Anthony, I agree with you. For most of African countries, the exception of South Africa, yes, that's experiencing a particular political process. I understand, for sure. I definitely feel that, South Africa in particular, when you do reopen, again, with the amazing amount of regions that people come there to explore, the thing to do now is to really think about how to take the normal Winelands experience or Cape Town experience or Kruger experience or Kalahari experience and make it new and fresh and interesting, with the new normal layered on top of it. So I'm hopeful that South Africa will reopen sooner than later. I really am, personally. Are there any more questions? I invite you guys to type any questions or send me anything down at the bottom of your screen for the Q&A, so that we can open it up to some questions here. I'm open to anything, even if it doesn't pertain, if it pertains to other countries around the world or anything else. If there's anything you'd like to know about the luxury traveler that I haven't addressed, please feel free. And then in the chat section, let's see if there's more here. I know in the United States, we have had a really rough time, so I can personally relate. I can personally relate to South Africa and what you're going through, in that, people can come, but it's very limited. Even our, traveling from state to state is very tough right now because, for example, I was just in Ecuador this weekend, and I landed back in New York yesterday, and I had transited through Miami in Florida, and Florida is considered a hotspot for coronavirus right now. And I did not even leave the airport, but I had to turn in a health form, and they've been texting me. The government's been texting me nonstop, stay at home for 14 days, don't go anywhere, don't do anything, which has made people really kind of worried about even transiting through certain regions that are, considered hotspots, because it kind of makes your life a living hell when you get home, even if you haven't left the airport. So I definitely feel for South Africa right now, and the fact that things are, still so shut for international guests, or, what have you. Lorraine said, what are you hearing about luxury trains? That's a good question. I know South Africa has, the Blue Train. I know there's a lot of, other train experiences. I haven't heard much. I think the train experience is something that a lot of first timers to different parts of Africa don't think about, but people that have come maybe once, twice, 3 times, they do. I believe that the trains, and this is just going off a hunch and what I've seen with other things in Europe, are probably only going to be able to get filled to at maximum half capacity. Things are going to be dramatically altered on those trains too, and how people experience them, dining, how close they're putting passengers into cars, sleeper cars and things. They're probably only going to be able to fill them to a certain extent. So Akona says, you mentioned WhatsApp is one tool to improve. Let's see, one tool to improve the customer experience. Any other technology software tools? Facebook Messenger. You know, a lot of you are discovered by Facebook. You know, I know a lot of you have Facebook pages, and you know, if people can reach you via Messenger, people love Messenger. People love to talk via Instagram. People love to talk via WhatsApp. I think Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, those are three really amazing tools that you can use to communicate with your guests, you know, aside from communicating your messaging. Also Twitter. I know here Twitter is used kind of like a news source in real time. If you use your Twitter account for people that are looking for the latest news and what's happening and how you're responding to it, I think that's a really, really great tool as well. Teresa says, hi, Anthony. You had great things to say about your experience in Rwanda and Kenya with all the measures that they had put into place. Did you notice a gap in any other area where they can improve? Or do you feel that they were doing everything sufficiently? I have to tell you, being an American and living here, I was so impressed with the way, specifically Rwanda. I mean, honestly, I have never seen a country that has really like done so many things so well by its people, and just with coronavirus in general, as a specific pandemic. When I was there, I interviewed a doctor who was ahead of the coronavirus task team there, and just listening to him speak about just how serious they were taking it. You know, the fact that they were doing the COVID test, they were able to return the test results very quickly. In fact, I came on a Brussels Airlines plane from Brussels, and I was supposed to be quarantined in my room for 24 hours, and my test results took about 26 hours. So I was there a little bit longer. And when I was working with the tourism board, and I said, hey guys, I thought you were supposed to speed my test results up so I could get out of my room and start exploring. They said that, you know what, we had to retest everybody twice because there were so many positive COVID cases on your plane that they had to retest everyone's sample twice, which was kind of frightening, but also assuring that they were being that diligent about it. I mean, hand washing stations on the side of the road, you know, just on the side of the highway traveling from one city to the other. There were these huge temporary hand washing stations. You would get off out of the car, out of the bus, and they would take your temperature and you could wash your hands. Again, I know a lot of governments are not providing that to its people, mine included. So I feel like as a travel brand, if you are a hotel, if you are a tour operator, or some other kind of luxury travel experience, that you take it upon yourself to do something like that, so that you can make your guests know that you've got it under control, even if the government doesn't. Teresa says, how was your experience getting through the airport? You know what, Teresa, it was exhausting. It was exhausting in a good way, but exhausting in like, you know, I had to show my negative COVID tests, plural tests, about 25 times before I could go anywhere, go into anything. So it was almost like passengers, not just in the airport, everywhere you go, you have to have a physical copy of that test. And it has to be no older than, you know, oftentimes 120 hours, 96 hours. And we had to show those tests quite often to get in or through anywhere. You know, the airport itself was actually pretty organized. In Rwanda and Kenya as well, you're met with people that were in hazmat suits, taking temperatures, looking at your negative COVID tests. I'm so happy they've gotten rid of in Kenya that, you know, cash visas because of COVID. So they're taking credit cards finally, thank God. That was a really good thing. Actually, in Kenya on the ground, I hired, it was US $18 for somebody to meet me at the plane. And they kind of helped me through every process, getting to the temperature checks, getting to the visa line, getting processed, getting my bags. And that's something that I think if you have access to or you can provide them. I'm not sure in Southern Africa, I'm sure they do. They have services like that at your major airports. But if you can offer that to guests, I think that's a really, really important thing. Um, Robin says, we're seeing clients requesting for more private, exclusive safari villas rather than just being an STD guest. Is this a common trend? It is. A lot of people either want to rent the entire camp out, or they want to rent, one villa, the second one next to it, to make sure no one's there. It is a huge trend, especially in luxury travel. I know it depends on what level of luxury you're at, but people with money right now are willing to pay for not just privacy, but for safety. And so that's why I said earlier, when you're creating your promotions and you're creating your marketing copy, don't be afraid to be a little extreme in what people can do. Maybe before they weren't willing to rent the entire place out, but don't be afraid to offer that, because you might just get somebody that does it because they're so panicked about everything going on that they're willing to spend the money to do it. Gisela said, do you know whether the luxury tour operators have remodeled their businesses? For example, are they now mainly working with freelance consultants instead of employees? Yes, there are a lot of luxury tour operators that are doing. I mean, so many people working from home anyway. They are doing a lot of freelancers. They can't afford to keep people on staff every day, unfortunately. So I have definitely seen that with different tour operators within different regions of Africa, and including other continents like the North America and South America. So Zane says, hi, how do you feel about traveling to Namibia now? And do you think being led by an experienced guide tour leader is in demand? Namibia is just an incredible country. I was fortunate to go a couple of years ago. What a special, special place it is. I absolutely loved it. And I think that Namibia, is so vast, and you feel on a normal day that you're the only person there. Really, if you're not in, Windhoek in the capital, you feel like you're the only person. So people are absolutely, because Namibia has been on every hot list for the past several years. So I think Namibia is in a great place to market to the luxury traveler, and especially with experienced and guide leaders. Because that experienced tour guide can help them through these processes, and then also, keeping them safe and showing them things that you might not be able to experience on a normal day. When I was in Kenya, I was there in the Masai Mara. This is migration time, and I saw next to nobody, and that's unheard of right now, right? It was good for me, but it was sad for the area. But that's, again, part of the messaging you can relate, is that come now, come today, because if you can, because we're going to be able to show you things that are not typical, that you might not be able to see on a normal day when travel is at its highest peak. Angelo said, what about cities? Yes, they're experiencing difficult times in leisure. MICE and business travel will take time to recover. Absolutely. I don't want to leave cities out. I know people come to Africa as a continent to experience incredible cities in Southern Africa and Central Africa and East Africa. I think, again, cities are having problems. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the Western Cape in South Africa has reached, kind of its peak and has calmed down. And in certain areas, there are certain flare-ups happening. I think that if you are a property or a tour operator in a city where your guests do come through cities and want to spend time there, it's just about informing them of what's happening, and again, modifying everything that you're doing to let them know that they're safe. I was in Nairobi, no problem. I stayed at Hemingway's Hotel. I stayed at Draft Manor. Both of them were fabulous, and they both were doing a fantastic job with the way that they were handling everything. They were only able to fill to a certain capacity, and just the way that the staff were keeping their distance, yet still keeping a luxury experience by, being of service and being kind, making sure guests were, sanitizing themselves all the time and checking their temperature all the time. So I think there's a way to cater to it still if you're in a city, and let people know. People aren't afraid to go to cities. They just want to know that they're looked after. Let's see here. Anonymous attendees. How many tests did you take total while in East Africa? Do you think the luxury traveler will be keen on taking so many tests? I had to take a total of 4 tests. I took 3 in Rwanda, 1 in Kenya. You know, honestly, I think any luxury traveler now, anybody who has to be nimble. Anyone who's going to be on the road has to be flexible and has to be nimble. So it didn't bother me. It was a swab of my throat. I got my test results back within 24 hours. It really wasn't an imposition. In fact, what they would do was they would send somebody to where I was to take the test, or they would have me go no more than 5 minutes away from where I was. So it wasn't an imposition. I didn't have to drive for an hour to go take a test or stand in line. It was working with a nurse, or a doctor that would come to where I was that would do it. And people, if you can do that for people, people are willing to pay for that as well. They might be having lunch at your property, but it might be time for them to take a test. If you can make it a situation where a nurse can come and swab their throat before lunch at their hotel, or they can go around the corner, then it's not a big deal at all. But if they have to schlep somewhere, or if they have to be impositioned, then it becomes, I think, a problem. So if there's a way you can work with somebody on the ground local there to modify that and kind of still make it even taking a COVID test, a luxury experience, then I don't think it's a big deal. Gisela said, do you know whether the luxury tour operators have remodeled their businesses? Oh wait, we have already addressed that. Freelancers, yes. So that's all I have for questions right now. And if there's any more, please let me know. I am reachable to everybody via email, and I can send out some notes so that you all have them if you didn't take any. I want to let everybody know how grateful I am that you tuned in today, and that you took the time to listen to me. I hope I provided some ideas or something new. I know that it's not anything new at this point in terms of what we know with social distancing and temperature checks and COVID tests. But I just really want to impart the message that it's important to be creative at the moment, and just be as creative as you can. Don't let this take you for a ride. Use it to your benefit, because your continent and so many of the countries on it are amazing and are really in a prime position to offer something different that a lot of other places, can't right now. So as the countries that are open there and the countries that are reopening in the next several months, start planning now and start changing your messaging so that when things do open, you can really hit it and make up for all this lost time. I wish all of you very well. My heart is with you. And I will, as soon as South Africa opens and other Southern African nations, I will be the first one there. So thank you for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. I really do. Thank you.